Okay, we're live. Welcome to episode 12 of Soul Purpose Conversation. Jan and I come here every week to represent the Soul Purpose School group that we created about a year ago. It is a group to help all soul-led entrepreneurs, means the people who are building their business, especially online, with a mission of awakening the world, which I think it's becoming a hot topic, actually, which I'm glad to see that, to really help them grow their business from a spiritual perspective. And we feel passionate about, uh, I feel passionate about, I think Jan feels passionate about this topic because there has been a disconnect between this process of spiritual awakening, the self-realization, the spiritual realization work that we do internally, and then how we are being led to promote ourselves and express ourselves in the world, and we're here to bridge that gap so everybody who is called to awaken the world feels themselves and good and utilize that inspiration to change and transform the world. So we have different materials inside of the school group, Soul Purpose School group. In addition to the monthly event that we're doing, and this month, September, we're doing the event focusing on belief, which is so important because everything that happens in the outer world is a reflection, a mirror of our inner truth. And what I mean by inner truth is that the truth that we hold about ourselves and the world is relative. So what you believe in truth for you is different for somebody else. And that inner sense of truth dictates the outcome and experience that we have in the outer life. So that's the topic that we are focusing on in the group. And in this particular episode, Jan usually come up with a topic, and I actually don't know what the topic is for today. So
Okay, so, well, first of all, I'm very grateful that I get to spend an hour with you weekly to sort of prod and poke you about the various topics that come up for me. Normally, it's stuff that I notice is, let's say, trending in the community. And so, what we've been talking about, like day before yesterday on the alchemy call, we were talking about, and I'll come at it from a couple of angles, and then I'd like to get your perspective on it. But so first of all, let's start with so there's I think it's I think the name, right? There's a Buddhist monk, Shogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, something like that. He said to one of his students that self-improvement is an aggression against the self. And then from another angle is what's been coming up for me is this, especially with the Neville stuff that we've been going through, is this idea that a lot of people have that, we're on a journey. But what that sort of inherently means is that I need to get over there in order to be whole, right? I'm not whole now. I'm on a journey to wholeness. And another sort of way of looking at it is this language that's on social media at the moment with like all the alpha males going like, become the best version of yourself, right? And that there's this ladder of versions that I need to traverse through in order to become the best version. And when I sort of am starting to think that there's only two versions, really, there's the essence and the personality. And then this exercise that we went through in the alchemy call around, if I think of a loved one, if I said to you, Yuki, think of a loved one, and then I asked you, is there anything that we need to add or take away from this person in order to make them more lovable, more, in your eyes? Do they need another degree? Do they need more money? Do they need whatever for you to see them any better, right? And it's an interesting exercise, this, because then we come back to like, okay, well, if I if I want to be beautiful, I need to see myself as beautiful first. Or if I want to be successful, I need to see myself as successful or abundant or expansive or any of these things that we talk about a lot in the community. But specifically, what I wanted to prod you about and get your thoughts on was this obsession with self-improvement. And we talk a lot about this, like or using our language in the community of the seeking of the next tactic, the next framework, the next thing outside of myself to put in your exact language is to turn the HOLE whole into the WHOLE, to make the whole. Yeah, so I guess that's the topic for today, and we'll see where we go with it.
It cracked me up when you said to get another degree to be lovable. I guess people are subconsciously operating that way, right? To be seen and known, or to even feel worthy, or I guess some people operate from the plain side of curiosity and wanting to learn more, which nothing wrong with it, because curiosity is a good attitude and perspective.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very interesting topic, and I think that this is a great topic because the integration of this, meaning to be present in the moment and feel whole and complete and not needing to change or not seeking anything else other than what is in this moment, the integration of that in the expansion, right? The expansion of creating and building things that's fun. And
Mm.
to, like, for instance, if I share a simple example, if I didn't seek for more, the Soul Purpose group didn't get created, right? So it is one thing to say I am complete and whole, and it is another thing to actually seek more. And I think the key lies, Jan, for me, in the perspective of where you're seeking more from,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because if you, so when we say you're already perfect, this is a language that being used in spiritual space where you're already whole, you're already complete, you're already perfect, right? Is a very relaxing thing, soothing things, right? To know who you are. And then wanting more in this process of living in this physical world is natural, because if you don't seek more and if you don't move, the natural tendency in this physical realm is that you will begin disintegrating. You're either expanding or you start disintegrating, right? So many people who are hustling and grinding and being in this sort of like a best version journey, right? They want to meditate to kind of balance that energy. And movement is good, right? We're constantly moving, and I believe that um, things are designed in this physical realm. We're designed to expand more. And it's interesting because the idea of wanting more, expanding more, creating more, sometimes, in a general neutral term, it's a great thing. Some people think that it's the product of the ego, right? But I think not allowing yourself to live more is the product of the ego from me.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is so and one reason, one example is, even Mel Robbins talks about, there's a stage that she presented, that she talks all about this sentence, I'm fine, right? She talks about the core of what that really means. When people say I'm fine, right? I'm fine with where I am right now. I'm fine with, right? And I started to listen to her, and then it came to me that, oh, I am fine with not expanding more actually is the voice of the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, one of the examples that I give often is, I sort of mirror with this idea of seed turning into flower, blossoming into flower, uh, caterpillar turning into butterfly, embryo turning into an adult. Those are all natural expansion, right? Seed, like we're not gonna ask or say, oh, flower, you should be staying as a seed. If you're trying to be a flower, that's an ego. Right? We're not gonna say that, right? We're not gonna say to a butterfly that, hey, stay as a caterpillar, butterfly, you're expanding and expressing. That's your ego saying, right? We're not saying that. Why do we say when people want more, the human level, that becomes ego? It's the other way around. So the soul is forever seeking a fuller expression. That's one of my favorite sentences, coming from Waddle Steve Waddles. So the urge to expand and express more, to create more, to have fun, to build something, to contribute to humanity, is an extension of the urge of the soul. And the perspective where we come from, coming back to this whole, H whole versus W whole, right? So many people were raised not feeling enough based on how we were treated. Then, you know, there is this natural ego urge, not soul urge, the ego urge to want to validate themselves, prove to the world, to feel that whole inside of them, right? HOLE, whole, the whole. And if we understand that spiritually speaking, we're already whole, W whole, this whole, not this whole, right? Then we are here to give more of that to people, right? So I think where we where we learn as a soul purpose group uniquely is that we understand the wisdom of spirituality, and to just like the video that you share on Alan Watts, right? Every single moment we can be so present, right? Now that doesn't mean that somewhere inside we are operating from the urge of creating and expanding more. And I think those two, you know, don't need to be the opposite,
Mm.
right? When people start thinking of being in the moment and moving into action, people tend to think that those are two opposite things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then people start thinking, okay, I'm doing it and I'm being it. I can, in order to do something, I need to sacrifice my being. If I'm being all the time, I'm not doing it, right? So the juice is in integrating the two and
Mm.
let the being lead that doing, instead of letting the do go on its own and forgetting about the being, right? So that's also one way to say. But another way to say is, okay, we have this concept in about ourselves in the world, who we think and we feel we are in the world, that is not greater than who we are. So that's when Neville and all the Bible stuff said, Father and the Son, right? I am conscious of being a man, right? So then the I amness, the being of who we are, needs to be the container in the self the role that we're playing, the concept of self, is the content. For a lot of
Mhm.
people, the concept of self is the content, and they forget about the actual real content, with context, sorry, the container, right? Who we are. So um, that's the blind spot, and then we wanna be careful with not losing it, right? But then we wanna actually practice living, integrating the two, which is what we are all about.
Mm. So we can come back to the being and doing. I think it's a great sort of subtopic. But just to go back to something really interesting that you said in the beginning around what is the intention behind the doing, and I think that for me has been um, this exercise of like, how do I think about myself? How do I feel about myself? What do I believe about myself? What do I know about myself? Which is interesting. If the I is the subjective I and the objective myself is me, so it is, how do I, the deepest part of me, feel about myself? I can use that in everyday life as like, how do I feel about this? Have the cookie, don't have the cookie, whatever. And but there's like subtlety to this around, and the language I like is the soul desires and the ego longs, and the soul desires to enrich the experience, to create, to make things awesome and have fun, and also a lot of richness and wholeness, like a, a sensational experience, like very like deep and rich and wonderful. And the ego also wants that, but believes that it needs to go over there, that it's not, it doesn't, the soul, the I when I play this game with myself, when I notice that I'm longing for something, that I know that I can feel that it's over there that I want to go in order to feel a certain way. I've also had moments of inspiration and that, whatever you call it, flow state, or any of that type of creative, really deep feeling of just expressing without judgment and without, so I can't in a global sort of way speak for the soul or for all souls and say this is what a soul does. I don't, but to the best of my ability, like, I do feel like when I'm in the essence sort of part of me, that it's not a longing. It's very much to enrich the experience. It's very much that I already feel complete. But if I go and have a wonderful dinner with friends, that is going to be a very enriching experience. It, in contrast to sitting on the couch alone, eating a pizza and watching like something that I don't particularly enjoy just for the sake of watching something, being mindless. So there's food involved, there's time involved, there's all of these things involved, but the two doings is very, very different, and where I'm operating from within it is very, very different. And I think that distinction is been a game changer for me, especially this game of how do I feel about myself. And there's something just right before you talk. Okay, I'll come back to it. I know you've got something to say. So.
No, I was gonna say, listening to what you said, this is an interesting conversation because I can think of multiple layers in it, right? Multiple layers in it, but then it stems from one place, which is whether we come from the place of oneness or come from the place of separation, right? When we come from the place of oneness, the execution, even the execution of the thought, becomes a creative plane. But if we come from the separation, it becomes a competitive plane. So you over there, I'm over here. I'm gonna go over there to get somewhere, right? And I think the beauty of the beauty of understanding that we are already whole and complete and perfect is that the moment we start identifying ourselves as that, we begin wanting to share it to the world. Because if you're full, if your cup is full, you want to give it to others. That's a natural tendency. It's a biological tendency to want to share with people, right? But if you are not identifying as a cup full, you're going to operate from wanting to fill that cup to become full. Then you start needing from the outside. And that's just a completely different way of operating. And I think how to maneuver our mind to be there and then creating something great. So the action of expansion stays in the energy of sharing and creating something great for the world instead of wanting something from it, because the receiving is going to inevitably happen when you start giving, right? So it's a simple equation, right? What we're talking about. I think people just in general likes to make things backwards. A lot of people just try to make things backwards, right? Including a lot of the uh, interpretation around spirituality, interpretation around God. When you started with the best version of yourself journey, I also thought about people, often use the term healing journey, right?
Mm.
The healing journey is also wanting to get somewhere,
Mhm.
right? It's the same thing. And this is something that Ernest Holmes, the science of the mind guy, taught me the most is the healing happens when you realize that you're already healed. So it's the same thing. When you realize that you're already whole, you're already complete, you're already perfect, the things that you're seeking or wanting to see in the physical world inevitably happens, because the contrast and the challenge or the perception of the lack shows up in our life in order to realize that, not to not to walk the path of healing, to realize that you're already healed. Yeah, this topic is interesting. This topic
Mm.
can trigger a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We we tend to trigger people.
Yeah.
um, yeah. I feel like Yuki. I feel like there is. I think from the one perspective there is no cup, and from the one perspective there's a cup. You know, the or another way of thinking about it is, when the cup is full of me, but like not the essence of me, the um mind my language, but the all my bullshit, then there's no space for anything else, you know. And then that also overflows, and you also want to give that to everyone, and that's not great. But anyway, the cup analogy. um Okay, so being and doing. This reminds me of Eckhart Tolle's stuff. He did a talk with Tony Robbins where he was very playful and saying that Tony Robbins he's a doer, and Eckhart was saying, that he prefers to be.
Was he talking about Tony, or were they talking to each other?
It was a summit of Tony Robbins that he invited Eckhart remotely to come and talk about
Oh wow.
being and doing. Yeah, I can send it to you.
Wow. I would be interested to actually watch that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Tony Robbins is a big fan of Untethered Soul. Michael Singer.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then that book is about, the inner critic and the awareness of the thoughts. So I have seen Tony talking with Michael Singer and being immersed in that topic. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
What I like about him is part of one of a big part of his message is,
Which person?
Tony Robbins,
Hmm.
that the easiest way to feel better is to not obsess about yourself.
Mm, yeah.
To stop focusing on yourself,
Yeah.
because I feel like you can get caught in this, especially from the angle of the personality, like you can get caught in this loop of trying to find meaning, you're constantly looking for fault, but you're also trying to find meaning. You're also trying to find comfort and safety all the time, and it becomes like my body is not the way that I want it to be. My life is not the way that and then we come back to what we started with talking, is that I'm not okay, and I need to go over there to become okay. And over there can be like a particular body, it can be success in the business, it can be a spiritual journey, it can be a healing journey, it can be whatever. And
Mm.
I know
Oh,
the healing journey in particular can be quite triggering for people, but it is this, we're just talking about the same thing, like,
yeah. Yeah. I want to say something about what you just said, because when you said earlier, I thought of sharing something. So when basically people sort of get into this zone of comparison game, right? Like, why do people begin thinking about themselves that they are not good enough? They can only think so when you have something to compare to,
mm,
right? Nobody can begin thinking or feeling about if they do not feel enough, but compared to what and according to what, right? So the perception that they see in the world, this person is doing this person is doing this person is looking this way, right? And then we start comparing to, but here's what needs to happen though. Each and every one of us is uniquely different. So it's just a matter of what we are paying attention to.
yeah.
Like, for instance, when I was a dancer, I wasn't the best dancer, right? I saw this person being able to do this kind of thing, this person being able to do this kind of thing, and I didn't focus on it because I saw in me that I was uniquely be able to express in my own way. Does that make sense? So I was focused on that. I was focusing on that, right?
I mean, the question that comes to mind is like, who is doing the comparing?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Sure.
Or maybe which part of me is doing the comparing?
Yeah. The one that wants to compare.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that wants to compare, right? So yeah, Ekatole is not comparing him. Ekatole is not interested in comparison at all, right?
Yeah,
He's just exploring the present moment.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So to I guess we're getting close to the end, but the to recap, right? So it's where am I operating from,
Mhm.
or is it the I or the me, the subjective I or the objective I, or even simpler, is it the essence of me or the personality, the character that I developed to play in life in order to survive, which is for the longest time didn't even know that the soul existed. and thought that it needed to go over there in order to be whole. And then, the nature of that, I believe that's what happened to me, is the nature of playing that game is that it's like the personality self-destructs, because no matter how much you eat, no matter how much you exercise, no matter how much money you make, no matter how much you do, you never feel satiated. You never feel, because it's coming from the wrong place. So that is something that is interesting. And then, can I do and be at the same time? So now you have to wrap that all up nicely.
Yeah. Well, so be and do, I'm gonna answer a little bit later, but let me share about the I. Many people live as if I am me, right? So most people are not aware, in my observation, that I is the one who is choosing to see. It's the lens and it's the eyes, right? It's the eyes to see you in any way you want to every single moment. So then this is what Carl Jung said, right? You're who you choose to become now. Who you choose to see now is the real I. But then most people operate on this default mode of they think that I is the me that they have been feeling for the entire life. And when they say I, they're talking about me. But I is every moment opportunity to see you in a different lens. Because, as I said earlier, everything is moving and unfolding every single moment. And like if you explore Deepak's, what's the title of the book? Ageless Body, Timeless Mind. He talks about even every single cell in the body will be renewed completely every 7 years. So, the structure and the shape might be similar, but the internal at the cellular level, we are a new person, but then we can be a completely different new person every single moment. That's the power of the I. That's the power of the choice. But I don't think most people take advantage of that opportunity to be the new I and continue to be the same me.
I mean, it's tricky to speak generally, but I do agree with you. But I would say even they don't even know that that's an option.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why they continue to be me. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not sure if it's a choice or a conscious choice. At least I don't know. I'm very grateful that because I lived like that. I mean, for a very long time. What do you think about? Is it Cooley? The I am who I think you think I am. Did I say it right?
I am what I think you think I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So how does that play into?
Yeah, that's the power of the empathy and the interpersonal um, relationship and how the identity is being formed within that context.
So
Like,
I am not what I think I am, but I am what I think you think I am.
yeah, that's how most people live. That's, based on
Yeah.
Charles Cooley. But if we become aware of that, I can choose to be who I want to be, regardless of how others think who I am. Right?
And
That's the puzzle.
express in however I want to, and
Hmm.
enrich my experience however I want to.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So as far as your second segment of can you do in the energy of being?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah, conscious and present doing, or inspired action would even be a better description.
Yeah. So I guess the question is what makes people not being fully present and begin getting caught into this doing and forgetting about it, right? Um, Let me back up a little bit because that's sort of like a difficult thing by now for me. Um, I think if people are, I think it's important to be in the body. That's one of the things that I like about Eckhart Tolle's work,
Mm.
where he talks about the body a lot. He talks about the somatic stuff a lot. And if you're not feeling the body and being in the body, you easily can be in your head, right? And I think if I give a little simple step for people who are watching this, the natural tendency for people to not being in the moment is when they're up in their head. So the more they're grounded in the body, they're in that state of being, and then you just playing and do things from that place without disconnecting from it.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it is possible. And then also though, yeah, I think many people because I hear many people often say I'm doing and I'm forgetting about being, right?
Mm.
And then often when people are doing, they talk about the doing as if something a little toxic, right? I think it's the energy that they're doing things, right? Even when people wants to go for a vacation because they are, focusing on the things and the project. I truly believe in this idea of freedom from the mind, freedom through the mind, which when people feel like they need vacation, they are wanting vacation from their mind, their
Mm.
thinking process, right?
Hmm.
Because when we do things, inevitably we're thinking about something, right? And then people tend to operate on the thinking in the lack mentality. So they get worried about, they feel doubtful, they feel pressure. All those are negative feelings and emotions that they're operating from, right? And
Hmm.
they want to take a break from it. That's how people use the term, oh, I want to decompress or unplug, right? Those language comes from being exhausted with the energy that they're in. The energy is coming from their thinking and the thinking and the feeling while they're doing. But if you're feeling inspired and excited about, you will not get exhausted, right? You will
Hmm.
not want to feel like you want to be unplugged from those. You don't want to be having a vacation from feeling inspired, right? So I think the doing that people are talking about is what kind of energy they're operating from when they're doing. And when they're feeling inspired, you are in the moment, right? I cannot think of any inspire activity that you experience without being in the moment. So I think it's just a matter of whether you're in a lack energy or you're in an energy of inspiration and um, excitement. And it's not too much about doing being conversation, but the energy that you're in. Are you in an
Mm.
expansive state or in a contractive state? And
Mm.
if you're constantly practicing being in an expansive, inspired state, you will find yourself integrating the doing and being. That's how I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting the we've spoken about this actually before on one of these, but that was a lovely call. About uh, uh, um, uh, consistency. What is it? Inspiration versus um, uh, I don't even have the word anymore.
Like a
Um,
discipline stuff, discipline.
Discipline, yes, that's it. Discipline versus inspiration.
Yeah,
And I loved your, the Western sort of understanding of discipline
yeah,
versus the Eastern understanding, which is essentially inspiration.
yeah.
Uh,
Intention and inspiration. Yeah, good memory. Exactly.
hmm.
Discipline can be something that you feel hard, um, but there's a softness to it from the Eastern perspective.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're trying to create a workforce and they're doing something that they don't particularly want to do or don't like, you don't want to guide them or teach them to be inspired about it because they won't be. And
Yeah,
well, I mean, if you're a good leader, you could possibly, but generally, if you're creating a workforce, that's why there was these massive campaigns to. It's such a big part of like coaching these days is like don't rely on inspiration, don't rely on motivation. It's fleeting. Like you have to find discipline and consistency and build habits, and it's all, and those things are all, if they're in the proper place, wonderful tools. But sort of just on this external peripheral level, I mean, this is the interesting thing for me in the past, coaching. You'll get two people that say, I want to run. I feel like I want to start running. The one person, and you're using now the habit coaching model, atomic habits, all of those, so it's like, okay, cool. You need to go for a walk every day or run every day around the block, and then you make it a bit longer, and you do it every day till it feels like second nature, and that's fine. One person will do that, and they will become a runner. Another person will do that, and 3 months later they'll say, "I fucking hate running. I still hate running." So they do it, but it never got internalized as a habit, which means that on the external tool of a habit is it's fine, but I think that inspiration and belief and perception and these deeper things are equally, if not more important, before you get to what the tool is, what the tactic is, what the why do you want to run is probably a more important question than anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think if people can build a practice of being inspired,
Hmm.
you know, by design and by choice, and then honoring the law of rhythm, you don't need to be at the high all the time, right? Just like,
Yeah. Yeah, I was
um,
talking about that with someone today, actually. That I was saying, like, when you get on the spiritual journey, it doesn't take away from, it doesn't remove the contrast.
right. Yeah,
In a lot of ways, the the experience deepens, but your capacity to handle more also increases.
hmm,
So there is an expansion, but also in the contrast, also in the not so pleasant stuff.
right. Yeah,
Because that's the nature of it.
yeah. How to be with that from the essence lens and from the being in a spirit lens is what we are practicing. It's the nature of the contextual feel, 3D physical one. So everything is great.
We can make that the topic for next week because that's a whole contrast is a whole wonderful topic within itself.
I mean, I honestly think that being able to acquire a capacity and awareness to relate to any contrast, challenging situation is one of the most important practice that we can implement because that's how everybody drift, right? That's how everybody come down to this sort of like a material point of view because the the voice of that is so loud for a lot of people. But then, if you begin looking at that consequence from the spiritual lens, everything is fine. Yeah.
Just for anybody who's wondering what we mean about contrast, we're just saying like the opposite of whatever. So the opposite of elation is despair, or the opposite of success is bankruptcy, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
And they have to exist, both sides of it.
Yeah. Whatever that we perceive to be negative, or what's preventing us from moving forward to create our desire. Yep.
What you said, which was really interesting, sorry, a couple of days ago, was to get into the space of understanding that, like, because if it's like a frequency wave, if we try to understand it like that, that before the next, before the good part of it happens, there will be contrast. It has to happen.
Yeah.
And which is cool, because if you understand that, or if you choose to believe that, then it means that when everything seems like it's falling apart, it's actually falling into place.
Exactly. And then what you just said is important. If you choose to believe so. If you continue to choose to believe that it's falling apart, it becomes so because you are powerful. Yeah.
So what you're saying then is, if I choose to believe that it's falling apart, then it just stays. It doesn't go back up.
Yeah, that's how most people operate, right? Even especially in a spiritual space, when people decide to do something and something painful happens in somewhere other areas in your life, and then a lot of people tends to believe that, oh, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't be doing it, right? It's an interesting interpretation, right? But in the process of creation, disruption follows the intention. So challenge and contrast appears inevitably 100% of the time when you decide to do and step into the next frequency, to be able to shake it off the existing frequency that we have been operating on. That's just the nature of creation. So when people don't understand that fully and start choosing to perceive that things are falling apart, what happens when people start perceiving, so they're in anxiety, they're in a doubtful mode, they're in a assumption of lack, then they would manifest that because that's how they chose to perceive.
Yeah, I've done that many times.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it's one of the main ways that I can get in my own way.
Exactly.
But not anymore.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Thanks, Yuki.
Thank you. So everybody's watching. I'm gonna put the link for the Soul Purpose group below if you want to go deeper. We're having all of this conversation. We have people from around the world, just like Jan is from South Africa. I'm in the San Francisco area. I think we got from every continent by now. We're growing fast, and then we're here to support all soul-led entrepreneurs and enthusiasts who wants to create the life led by the soul. So check the link below. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you.
See you next week, everybody. Thank you.